Welcome back to Cheddar. Contactless transaction methods like Apple and Samsung Pay are seeking to eliminate the use of debit and credit cards for the convenience of your phone or other mobile accessible devices. Joining us now is Matthew Donnelly, VP of Solutions and Finance at Commerce Platform FreedomPay. Matthew, great to have you here with us today.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Do you think contactless solutions and transactions will eventually be the end of debit and credit cards?
I think that credit cards and debit cards, they're used with contactless payments. So I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I think that contactless payments are really driven by merchants' sort of need to enhance the consumer experience. So consumers want payments to be frictionless, right? They want that experience to be very quick. They don't want to sit at a checkout line. And contactless sort of helps to serve that purpose by making that a quick transaction and a secure transaction.
As we've seen with the rollout of the chip cards here in the US, it wasn't as smooth as some of these retailers or merchants have liked. Big debate about whether or not you do the chip and the signature, the chip and the PIN, as they do in Europe. Where are we in that? Are we ever going to go back to a system where we have to enter in our PINs again, or are we done with all of it and everything is moving over to contactless?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. There's been a lot of confusion, and frankly, I think a lot of that is sort of a lack of education by sort of the payment, the machines and the payment sort of the payment networks, right? To kind of tell everyone, how do you handle this? It's definitely consolidating. I think that EMV chip cards, those transactions are getting sort of quicker. There are a number of technologies like Quick Chip, as well as what we call contactless EMV, that are being implemented in 2018, and those all work to kind of enhance that experience and increase that transaction time.
I mean, how many times have you gone up to swipe or insert and then they've got it taped off, or there's like notes on it? Like, I can't even remember the last time it was just like an easy way to just swipe or insert my chip.
I just want confidence when I step up to one of the transactions.
Absolutely.
Jeez. Any of them, any of the readers, I just want more confidence. But look, net, we're shifting over to any of these other devices, whether it is a Ring, and we can talk about that in a second, because I just signed up for some waiting list earlier this morning. Whether it's a Ring or whether it's a chip, as we were talking with one of our guests earlier this week. Look, there's a myriad of different ways that people are trying to still complete these transactions, but to make it a lot more seamless without having to pull out a card. Where do you see some of your partnerships going forward? Who are some of those big players that are really going to kind of implement and allow for the next steps of adoption?
Absolutely. Recently with Oracle, Point of Sale, as well as Jacob Javits and Centerplate, one of the largest food service providers in the country, we actually implemented at Jacob Javits Center, and we implemented that ability to run those contactless transactions. So it really is a collaboration between a number of different sort of organizations within the payments ecosystem to make sure that those transactions are seamless, specifically for the consumer.
And all of this too is to improve security as well. So having multi-step processes like the chip and the PIN if you're in Europe, or just having the chip and then also sometimes having a sign, is to help secure these transactions. Is it more secure now that we have some of this data in the cloud? As a platform yourself, the company there, have you seen the benefits of that versus the traditional ways that transactions have been processed?
Absolutely. Probably one of the best things to happen to payment security was that requirement for merchants to move to EMV, and the reason was that investment was required by the merchant. So merchants actually purchased new hardware that didn't just accept those EMV chip transactions, but it also worked to encrypt that data before it entered the merchant system, helping protect all of us as consumers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much effort on the cybersecurity front by a lot of companies to bring their infrastructure up to snuff from hackers, and whether that means bringing on a team of hackers, i.e. like a HackerOne, and working with a company that actually has that team that could try and do some stress testing, or just simply shelling out the cash in the capital in some of these trusted companies and historical players in the space. What's the next big thing that we need to look out for in terms of the transactions community right now?
Absolutely, it's a great question. I think there's a lot of emerging technologies that have been coming out over the past several years. Things like contactless, when we talk about Apple Pay and Google Wallet. And it's really important to keep in mind that in addition to that, you have to really sort of take a layered security approach. Merchants should always look to remove credit card data from their environment entirely. So there's a number of ways you can do that. Really what you want to focus on is encryption before that data enters the merchant system, and rely on sort of the players in the industry like a FreedomPay to really secure your payments.
Yeah, and this idea of tokenization, which essentially scrambles up your credit card numbers and translates into something else, and it's a one-time use kind of thing, so that every single time you use your credit card with a different retailer or a merchant, it's never the same. So it's harder for somebody like a bad actor to get ahead of that. You've been around as a company for 18 years. What's been happening in the past 18 years? Did you guys foresee this trend happening years ahead of time, or was it something that took you guys by surprise, the industry by surprise?
So we always try to stay sort of abreast of what's going on in the industry, and we were actually the first company in North America to provide a validated point-to-point encryption solution with EMV support, with chip card support. That was a really big time for us. 2014 was when we started. But we're always, sort of ahead of those chains. We're looking into, obviously, things like contactless. We do a lot of tokenization, blockchain, all these different sort of new things. We're always keeping our eye out just to see how, at the end of the day, we, with our merchants and our partners, can better enhance that consumer experience.
Is there any concern as some of your customers are transitioning over to the cloud and all of their data is being migrated as well, that there is some additional exposure that they're undertaking as a result of having this partnership or having some type of risk or kind of being exposed to some of the changes that are taking place as they're happening in that migration to the cloud?
Absolutely. Whether you host your own servers or you use a cloud infrastructure, it is really critical to make sure that you're securing those environments in a number of ways. Most importantly, when we talk about payment data, whether that be a chip transaction or a contactless transaction with an Apple Pay, it's critical that you work with a provider who's going to handle the encryption and decryption of that data, because when a merchant doesn't have the ability to decrypt that sensitive data, that means an attacker can't either. So you always want to encrypt that data before it enters the merchant's environment or that partner's environment, and then decrypt it only after it leaves that environment.
You were recently at the National Retail Federation show. What were the concerns there from merchants looking at this year and years ahead? What do they really want? What do they really need?
Security is a big focal point, and that was what we demonstrated at Jacob Javits with Centerplate. It was very, very exciting. But of course, like you brought up earlier, contactless payments. How do we make this a quicker transaction time? How do we get people through the lines, increase that throughput?
Are services like Venmo, peer-to-peer payments, Apple Pay's new service inside of iMessage a threat to your business?
No, absolutely not at all. Our merchants and our partners, they look to enable those types of technologies, and we build those sort of as modules under our platform. We want our customers to tell us, hey, we want to pay with Venmo, we want to pay with Apple Pay, and we add those as additional payment methods.
Yeah.
You've taken on about $23 million in funding thus far. What's the next step in terms of taking on even more capital, perhaps, from your side? We know that there's a lot of investment taking place from the VC side in fintech companies right now.
Sure, yeah, it's of course a very active market. We're doing a very great job sort of in the market, and we're just going to continue taking over the world right now as it stands.
All right, very cool stuff, Matthew Donnelly.
Thank you guys so much.